It's a chess game. And so we need to remove the players from the board, and we need to enable those that are still out there to continue to move forward.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about is that I noticed that some of the scorecards out there have this rated negative, and they've got that wrong. The negative...
Point of order, Mr. Chair, or excuse me, Mr. Speaker.
It's not point of order, but would you like to? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think we're here to talk about this legislation specifically, not about scorecards.
Gentleman may continue.
Anyway, the scorecard, the way it works is that they've put on there, they've said that that part of the reason they scored it negatively was because the teachers adversely affected the pool. That's not the case. The teachers actually added to the pool and made our rates go down because of what they did. The cities will be the same. And so I hope that you'll look at this with clear eyes, allow cities to make the decision. This is voluntary. This is not mandatory. And they can lower some cities I've seen quotes, where they can save $100,000, $200,000 by entering into the state pool. And when you have a large amount of people in a pool, your rates are stabilized. And it's an incredible look to see this pool work the way it works. Idaho has probably the best insurance rates I've seen inside this pool. And again, I've never seen expenses so low as I've seen in the pool. So the cities would gain tremendously by being able to enter. I'll just leave you with that and do a green light.
And nothing more. And I appreciate your green light. Thank you.
For debate on the motion. Gentleman 15.
To debate.
Gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, we see bills that are, that sound good, that feel good, and are well-intentioned. But they also have to be workable. They also have to, once we leave this session.
Well, good morning, folks. Matt Edwards here. Idaho Signal's on the air. We were watching House Bill 725, but apparently the feed that we were watching was a little bit delayed, and so it got caught up here. And so this is the live shot now in the House floor. This is House Bill 660, trying to determine the immigration status of arrested individuals. This is one of the big immigration bills that the legislature has been trying to get through. The conservatives in the legislature have been trying to get through. And so we just missed Dale Hawkins' opening remarks on this bill, but there will be some substantial debate throughout the House as this bill makes its way over to a certain death in the Senate, I would imagine. I don't know that, but that seems to be what's happening. But we will continue to watch this here as Representative Steve Birch, the Democrat, one of the most leftist, I think the most leftist Democrat in the legislature, debates against the bill. But let's hear some more.
34.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman from 2 yield to a question.
Gentleman 2 yield.
Gentleman yields.
Gentleman yields.
Mr. Speaker and good gentlemen, in looking at the process of how this might work, the information I found indicated that these databases are all federal databases and that local and state law enforcement don't have direct access to them. In the event that there is a time factor and federal officials don't get back, what is the avenue that you envision for them being able to do the verification in a timely manner?
Jump 2.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good lady. First of all, I don't know that that is accurate, that they don't have access. And secondly, this is asking for this to generate this number twice a year. So that means there's a great deal of time between each report.
Dave 34.
Will the gentleman yield to a follow-up question?
Gentleman yield additional question.
Gentleman yields, Mr.
Gentleman
Speaker.
yield.
Mr. Speaker and good gentlemen, so that answer actually raised a secondary question of what is the timeline that we are asking law enforcement to be able to provide verification of an individual? Is it prior to adjudication of any crime they may be charged with, or is it just prior to this biannual reporting requirement?
Gentleman 2.
Mr. Speaker, good lady, I'm not sure I understand your question.
Would the lady from 34 care to restate her question?
Mr. Speaker and good gentlemen, let's try this route. What is the deadline by which local law enforcement is required to have completed verification of an individual? Is it just by the deadline of the report, or is it based on the individual's time spent with that law enforcement agency?
Gentleman two.
Mr. Speaker, good lady, the implication in the legislation says twice a year and it names dates. I would assume that this information being gathered at the time of booking would mean that it's available. If you're trying to find out, is it 1 day, 2 day, 5 days after that? We didn't get into the weeds on this because we didn't want to dictate to local law enforcement how they carried out the process, but having the freedom to just generate the report twice a year seemed to be very roomy in it.
Lady 34.
Mr. Speaker, to debate the bill.
Lady has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask law enforcement to do very difficult jobs all the time. We try to be clear with our legislation about what it is that we're asking them to do, because often they're put in situations where they have to make split-second decisions. And so we have an obligation to ensure that the enforcement of the laws that we pass provide them with a clear pathway to ensure that that enforcement happens consistently and effectively. This legislation, while I understand the intention of the sponsor, just based on the questions that were asked during this debate, suggests to me that we are creating confusion for our law enforcement. It is unclear to me, for instance, if law enforcement would be considered to have complied with this law if in the course of investigating the crime in question for which an individual was investigated, if that individual is cleared of the crime and released prior to them having their immigration status verified, would law enforcement be in compliance with the law for having released the individual without completing the verification? There's also this question as it relates to access to information. And I trust the good gentleman when he says it's unclear or he does not know of any reason why local law enforcement wouldn't have access to the databases, but federal databases are federal databases. And unless there is an agreement in place, I have a hard time seeing why local law enforcement or state law enforcement would automatically have access to those federal databases. So we are placing local law enforcement at the beck and call of federal officials to provide them with information in order to comply with state law. Again, I understand and appreciate the objective of what the good gentleman is trying to accomplish with this legislation, but I believe what we are setting our law enforcement up to do with the language is to fail. And to not fail because they aren't willing to comply with the law, but because we haven't been clear in the law. I would encourage us to revisit this issue in a way that ensures we are supporting law enforcement with the enforcement of law and not asking them to try to interpret what our intentions are.
Further debate on the motion? Hearing none, would the good gentleman of 17.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate against the bill.
Someone has the floor.
You know, the other day we talked about the ISP budget and the fact that there were so many vacancies in ISP positions. For example, in North Central Idaho District 2, 10 positions of 21 are vacant. Now you're giving ISP and the local sheriffs and the local police even more work to do. They've already got traffic accidents, they've got crimes, and all kinds of other duties and jobs, and now they have something else. But we're not giving them the financial support for that, and they don't have the staffing support for that until they do get that financial support. So at this point, this bill is premature, and also the fiscal note once again indicates, oh, it isn't going to cost anything. Yet we have a letter from the Fraternal Order Police, the police chiefs, and the sheriff saying, yeah, it's going to cost us money. We're going to have to investigate this kind of activity and spend a lot of employee time doing that. Right now, they don't have the staff to do it.
Further debate on the motion? Gentleman 26.
For debate, please.
Someone has the floor.
I'd like to debate in two areas. First is simply the verification part of it. This puts our local law enforcement in the same issues as employers are placed in. No employer goes out and willfully hires an undocumented alien. They ask for verification, social security cards, or e-verify. Those are both just a form of identity theft. E-verify costs about 10 times, I believe, on the street of what a fake social security card that will go through the system, and you do not get a no-match letter back. So this is, federal immigration is broken. This is just putting the same burden that everybody talks badly of employers because you're employing this slave labor. Frankly, it's the same burden that we're going to place on local law enforcement. The second issue is, as the sponsor implied, the costs of people that are in our economy that are undocumented. And to look at the cost of incarcerating them, which nobody likes that. But the flip side is to look at the economic benefit that our country has very happily enjoyed from those people. And a lot of surveys depend on how you ask the survey. It would be really interesting to go ask people in your rural areas that are dependent on Social Security, which we all know is a broken system now, what they're going to do if we take all the millions of people that are paying into Social Security, and as legislation has already been passed, they're never going to be able to touch those benefits. So fair is fair. What are all our Social Security recipients going to do when the fund knocks millions of people that are paying into it, knocks those out for contributions? Thank you.
For debate on the motion, gentleman 7.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, to debate.
Gentleman has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, as of April 1st, 2025, we have no fees to access federal databases for government agencies, period. Those are gone. They do not exist anymore. We currently have access to the NCIC, which is a criminal database. You submit fingerprints, they go off, they say, yep, illegal, non-illegal, have they been deported, gives them all the information. We have an interoperability. So if we submit fingerprints to the FBI for background checks, we are actually federally mandated currently to send those fingerprints. They get automatically sent to DHS to do this stuff. So law enforcement may actually already be doing a lot of this because some of it is federally mandated. This is just a check of people that are being arrested. It is not going out and arresting people. There's just people that have already been found and charged with a crime. They're coming into the prison system. They're getting their fingerprints. They're getting their jumpsuit, and they're going to sit in a bed for a while. This just says we want to know how many of them are illegal. It's not that big of a deal. It's pretty simple. We have access to the databases currently for free. There is no charge. Give it a green light.
For debate on the motion, gentleman 15.
Debate a second time.
Is there anybody who wishes to debate the bill for the first time? Hearing none, the gentleman 15 has the floor to debate the bill for the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand with law enforcement, and I'm going to vote against this bill. Thank you.
Third debate for the second time. Good lady from 18.
Thank you, Chairman. I need to declare a real lady. I am married to a law enforcement officer, and I too will be standing with my Leos and my Leo families.
So we're going to play that game, huh? Good lady's declaration will be noted in the journal. Is there further debate on the motion for the second time? Hearing none, would the gentleman to care to close debate?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I won't take long. I keep hearing about, what about the burden? What about the burden of the people we represent? They're the ones paying all these bills through their counties, through their cities, through state agencies. It's the people of Idaho that are asking for this. And as far as this implied that if you vote yes for this, somehow you're not standing with law enforcement. I've been to reserve post. I have put on a badge. I have put on a vest, put on a gun, and walked in the street. And I would do it again tomorrow. I would do it again today. To insinuate that somebody is not with law enforcement because they want a tallied count on how many people that we're paying for in this state that don't belong here, well, I fear if I give my real opinion, then I'll be chastised by the speaker. This is not a hard ask, folks. We voted stuff off this floor dealing with immigration that was much harder asked than this. This one isn't it. Give the people of Idaho your green light.
Debate is closed. Question is, shall House Bill 660 pass the House? Clerk will mark the machine. Members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine and report the pairs.
All right, folks, there you have it. Some lively debate there on House Bill 660 as it passes the House 40-30. Brian Allman is with me here this morning. Let's bring Brian up if we can. It was very interesting to see, and well, obviously, folks will pay attention to see what the next bill up is as well. But another, I mean, I'm less enthusiastic about this because I think we all know where this bill ends up, right, Brian?
Yeah, we're starting to see a pretty familiar pattern. Anything related to immigration goes to Senate State Affairs, where it is either killed on a 4-5 vote, or it is just tossed in the door and doesn't even get a hearing. And that's just one or two people making decisions in place of the entire legislature. But it was interesting debate hearing Representative Green, Representative Birch say that they stand with law enforcement, unlike those Republicans like Representative Hawkins was the implication there. When notice the pattern with a lot of these bills. A lot of them are asking law enforcement to do something, not a big thing, just to, okay, let's figure out these people you arrested. What's their immigration status? Are they here legally? It's good to know. Or, in other cases to, work with the federal government so that if somebody is here illegally, make sure that you let ICE know, and so the ICE can come pick them up. And law enforcement keeps testifying against it. It is a little bit baffling to me.
It truly is, and I don't know if they're thinking that it's somehow encroaching upon their authority, or they're not doing their job, or they're feeling pressure from their own unions or fellow people in the community that have deep pockets. I mean, who knows what's at stake here? This is a really huge deal. We are talking about decades and decades where we have just allowed the federal government to tiptoe around this issue, and for the states to just simply sit by and say, well, we're waiting for the feds to do something. In the meantime, we'll allow all of this stuff to happen. And I keep going back to the fact that they keep saying nobody knowingly hires illegals. Nobody knowingly does that. And then and they all agree that it's wrong. But then when you want to check under the hood to see if there's actually an engine there, no, nobody see, nobody look, don't do anything. Jack Nelson seems to know all about the black market. He seems to know all about how much fake e-verify certificates are versus fake birth certificates versus fake social security numbers. He seems to know an awful lot about that, yet he won't disclose how or have an issue or have a solution rather on how to fix any of it. He just says, don't look.
It seems like there's a lot of plausible deniability going on here with the employers who do hire illegal aliens, and we know they do because there was that study that came out from the McClure Center just a couple years ago saying that there are 35,000 illegal aliens working in Idaho right now, and that was 3-4 years ago using even older data. So it's probably more with what happened during the Biden administration. But they play this plausible deniability game. We had the lobbyist for the dairymen get up and say that up to 70% of their employees could fail an audit of their citizenship papers. He knows that. He says that. But then when we say, okay, well, let's actually investigate. Let's actually put some enforcement in there. They're like, oh, no, we can't do that. So it's pretty clear. It's pretty obvious to me, the game they're playing. But I wish more voters could see it.
Yeah, and that is the truth. More people need to see this. It needs to be exposed. I mean, we've seen various clips get shared on social media. Obviously, we share clips on social media of this stuff. We see various lawmakers and activists and stuff share this information, and it's starting to permeate out there. I think I saw Laura Logan retweet Senator Lenny when Senator Lenny exposed how law enforcement is pushing back on some of this stuff. So there are some big name folks out there that are trying to get this exposed in the red states. So I have a feeling, though, as we creep into the midterms on a national level, that this is going to have huge implications 2 years from now when we're back at it again, fighting for elections, trying to get these bills passed, and we have a presidential election happening where it's an open seat this time. So this issue is not going away, folks. I said it the other day with Michael Angeletta, Brian, about how during the pandemic, there were many people standing up. It was a smaller minority, but they were standing up in the legislature trying to get bills passed that would allow you to visit your grandma in the assisted living centers. They said, we don't want any more masks. They were trying to curb vaccine mandates and all the things that were happening during COVID. They tried to do that. They even had a special session where they had all these COVID-related pandemic bills ready to go. And one by one, they were all shut down during a special session, and the only thing they focused on was an ethics complaint against Representative Giddings at the time. So it was like all of that stuff they thought they could bury it, but then here we are with last year's session where a lot of those pandemic-related bills and subsequently prior did finally go through. So we're not going to stop. It's not going to go away. This issue is only going to get worse, and we're only going to start helping elect more people to vote correctly when it comes to these immigration bills and get people in proper positions of power. I mean, this is the only way to do it, Brian.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think the dairymen, the big ag lobbies, and the legislators who feel like they're beholden to them, they're trying to kick the can down the road. They're trying to just avoid this issue and maintain the status quo for as long as possible. But something's going to give, and either it's just going to wreck our society, or we're going to actually take action to fix it. We have an administration right now, for the moment, that is enforcing immigration law and working on removing those who should not be here. So now is the time for the states like Idaho, red states, 85% Republican states, to partner with the Trump administration instead of either pretending like there's nothing we can do or actively fighting against it. You see this thing where they talk big. Oh, we want to get rid of the criminal aliens, of course, but we don't want to do anything that would affect the dairies or the hospitality industry or the landscaping industry or the construction industry, because those people give us big campaign contributions, and they don't want change, so we don't want change. But you're right. Something's got to give. If we don't deal with it now, it's going to come back next year and the year after that and the year after that, and we'll have to keep fighting to make sure that these problems are taken care of.
Yeah. One thing that's really interesting that I want people to realize is, and we're going to take a short break and come back and get to this, is what the chessboard really looks like and what the moves are, because there was a bill presented this morning by Senator Guthrie that was it's a sort of a rehash of a bill that was presented by the Democrats a few weeks ago that's not going anywhere. And so he picked up the ball and is going to run with a bill that is basically designed to take out Citizens Alliance of Idaho. So we're going to go to a quick break. On the other side of the break, we'll show you that clip and we'll get into it and show you exactly what's going on out there, folks. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
And that's exactly what happened. You want to pull the tape? You can pull the tape because we now got video.
The dictionary defines a pledge as something that you give as a sign that you'll keep a promise. As Idahoans, that's what we're looking for in our elected leaders. A sign that they'll keep their word. Talk is cheap, and so are political promises, hidden agendas, and special interests. This is why we created the Citizens Alliance of Idaho Pledge, affirming the values Idahoans have been living by for over 100 years, inspired by the only two documents everyone has agreed to live by. So when an Idaho legislator signs our pledge, inviting voters to publicly hold them accountable, that's what we call political integrity. The pledge restores trust and honesty between voters and their legislators. It means protecting our shared values and ensuring your voice is heard in Boise. And that is priceless. Thank your legislator for having the political courage to sign the Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge. And if they haven't, it's time to ask why.
To present RS 33660, and that it basically goes into what we're already doing, which is, if you remember, I think it might have been in the last year or two that we indicated we wanted signature gatherers for petitions and referendums to be willing to disclose or to disclose if they were being paid for that effort. This makes a couple of changes. It changes from resident to qualified elector, and then it also gets a little bit deeper in terms of not just for initiatives and referendums, it's also if somebody is paid to go out and advocate for a candidate. The thought being that with so much out-of-state money coming in, I think it's getting more and more important that we know when those situations are occurring where people are being paid to go out and advocate for a candidate or already encode the initiative, the referendums. Of course, volunteers are exempt from the situations, and also on the paid side, if a person's under 18, they don't have to be a qualified elector, just be residing in the state for at least 30 days. Be glad to answer any questions. Appreciate a print.
And so there you have it, folks. This was a bill that seems strikingly similar to what the Democrats presented just a few weeks ago in House State Affairs, basically saying that, and we'll put it out there, it's basically saying that if Citizens Alliance has door knockers on the ground, advocating for, campaigning for or against candidates, that they need to somehow wear a name tag or say that they're paid, even though on all of the different materials that you hand people, whoa, lost the mic there, it does say paid for by Citizens Alliance of Idaho. We're proud to be out there with people on the ground informing voters on people's on candidates. And so I mean, this is just strictly the I don't know, is it ironic here, Brian? I don't know if it's irony or if it's more just like, I mean, Jim Guthrie is a huge target in this election. Everybody knows it. There are boots on the ground advocating for his opponents. And so rather than just, push your own ideas and try to win, you're trying to put roadblocks or some sort of marker in front, some sort of blocker in front of people out there trying to communicate campaign for campaigns. Am I losing it here? I'm trying to put all the pieces together.
It sounds about right to me. I have heard the rumor that there are door knockers in Senator Guthrie's district, just sharing the truth of how he's voted and why he might not be representing the people of that district very well. And it sounds like he's acting purely out of self-interest here, trying to use the legislative system to protect his own seat, because his voting record is certainly not doing a good job of that. His representation of his constituents is not doing a good job of that. So, just straight up, he doesn't want his voters to know the truth about how he's been behaving in the Capitol. And you see that from others who are facing the same thing. Obviously, Representative Birch, I think, has had people in his district talking to folks, which, no wonder that the Democrats would try and shut this down. It is a little bit ironic because I see, over the past couple of years, Republicans and Republican-aligned groups, conservative groups, are playing catch up to the Democrats. The Democrats on the left have a massive organization of on the ground activists. You saw that all the way back. I remember in 2008 when President Obama won election, and the news media couldn't contain their glee over how his campaign used social media, especially Facebook, to get out the vote. And then in 2016, when the Trump campaign did the same thing, suddenly it's a scandal. Oh, this evil right winger is using your data. So it's kind of the same thing here. The Democrats have these. This system, this structure to get out the vote, to send out paid door knockers and paid canvassers for their initiatives, like Reclaim Idaho sends folks out to get ranked choice voting on the ballot, abortion on the ballot, Medicaid expansion on the ballot, and conservative aligned groups are starting to catch up and figure out how to play that game, and suddenly they want to change the rules.
Yes, they do. They want to change the rules because they see how effective it is against them, and they want to put up roadblocks, like I said, at every turn, so that they keep control of their own power. But folks, I'm telling you, and we're public about it. It's completely like, you can call us and you could be a part of the door knocking team. You want to volunteer your time and go out and do it? That's great. If you want to try and get a job door knocking, what is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being paid for your time. Do you not think all the lobbyists that scurry about the Capitol are not paid for their time? Do you think people who run organizations like we are not paid for their time? We're paid for our time. We're paid for our talents in order to help fight the good fight. God bless us. God bless the people who donate. God bless you out there who donate. And folks, we're seeing our donations just like they're going up. They're going up because people realize how effective we are, and how effective we are at this. And so they can try to put up as many roadblocks as possible. But we're not going to stop. We are not going to stop communicating with voters. You can't. This is America. Some of these people, Brian, I feel like they think that Idaho is just this island that is sort of an ally to the United States of America and its Constitution. Right? We need to be an island. Nothing can come in from outside. It's just Idaho. It's just our own little thing. We're not a part of the United States of America. We're not a part of any of that. We make our own little rules. We have our own little fiefdom, and you can't touch us. And if you haven't been here since for 150 years with your name on the door etched in the foundation of the 150-year-old home, you have no business dictating or asking for anything. I'm getting sick of it.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of folks out there, they'll be happy with national support for their projects, but then turn around and say, this other thing that I don't like, it's dark out of state money. And there are plenty of people here in Idaho who are using their money to promote their causes, and even in the form of paid door knockers. I saw it at work in the campaign I worked on last fall. It was probably the most effective part of that campaign, actually getting people out to speak to people in person. And obviously it's great to be able to recruit volunteers or for candidates or, political activists to go do it themselves. But especially in, big rural districts, it is difficult to get it done. And so paying people for their time to help you out seems perfectly reasonable to me. And again, we all know why Senator Guthrie is doing this. It's pure self-interest.
It is. It's pure self-interest. And one final note on these door knockers. I want you to realize this, folks, that when especially the ones that we work with, I only know about the ones that we work with. Like these door knockers, they're ideologically aligned. So they see a need for liberty to spread. And they go, I want to help. And you're going to pay me to help do that? God bless you for that. And so what they do, they read up on the candidates. They learn all about them. They learn what the issues are. They learn what they're like mini versions of the candidate when they hit the ground running. And if you're somebody running for office, isn't that what you want your volunteers to do? And sometimes you're around, you don't have those volunteers. You don't have people that have that time. But there are people willing to donate money in order to supplement someone's time to go out there and advocate on their behalf. I mean, these folks that show up and door knock, they know as much as they can publicly about the candidate. They've never met the candidate before. Sometimes they'll knock on the door and they'll realize, oh, this is the candidate's home, and they're like, oh my gosh, like I have your face on my flyer here, and they take a picture with them. Like this is This is what America's all about. Everybody out there talking face to face, but when it comes to power, when it comes to stopping this thing, and you realize once again, we've been pushing back on the pandemic narrative. We're pushing back on this illegal immigration stuff. So you got the man who's stopping all of the immigration reform, right? And we're targeting him. We're looking for folks that are going to vote against him. And now he's out there saying, "Oh, you're going to try and get me out of here? Well, then I'm going to put roadblocks to stop you from doing that from my position of power, not from a position where he has to go out there and door knock himself or hold a town hall and defend his actions." I mean, this is a guy that stood up and said, "For the record, I voted against over $300 million in tax cuts last year." Like, go defend that. Go defend that. And there are people out there that will eat it up, and I'm sure they will. But there's plenty of people out there that have no idea that he said that and would be appalled that he said that. So
that's the thing. How many of Senator Guthrie's voters know that he said that? How many of Senator Guthrie's voters know that he is making common cause right now with Boise Democrats against anybody who's going to go out there and tell the truth about his voting record? And that's really, I think, one of the most damning things about Senator Guthrie's record is that he seems to be more comfortable voting with Democrats and working with Democrats than with fellow Republicans. At some point, if you spend so much time reaching across the aisle and meanwhile working against those on your side of the aisle, whose side are you really on? As the ad that we've played a few times says, who is Senator Guthrie representing? Is he representing his voters or someone else?
Okay, I want you to remember this, recall this, Brian. He stood up about a week ago and voted against a health and welfare bill, and he had this impassioned speech that he gave, where he talked about how he voted against the $300 million in tax cuts. But it was encapsulated in this 6-minute speech that was heralded the next day or maybe even that evening. It was like a special news edition. Like Senator Guthrie gives this passionate speech on the floor, and just where he talks about his heart and suffering during the bad times and not being prudent during the good times of government when money is flowing in. And it was all of this couched and the Idaho press from the east to the west just flourished him with all of that. And it all stemmed from the Senate floor. Because here's what, and we made a little, producers made a little funny clip here, but I want you to take note of the two people that stood up to congratulate Guthrie on his impassioned speech. We cut it up here, so we isolated what we thought was the most important part of his speech. Check this out.
History. I've been here for 16 years, and every so often we experience a defining moment as we serve in the legislature. Moments that signal the path we choose for the state as we pass legislation and that define us as legislators. For the record, I voted against over $300 million worth of tax cuts last year.
So, Senators, if there was a time when I wanted to stand up and give a standing ovation to a testimony that was given on this floor, it was just a moment ago by the good senator from 28. I hope you all paid attention, because he was spot on.
That was a true speech of statesmanship, and I hope it's recognized as such, and I hope the audience recognizes what it just heard. Thank you.
For the record, I voted against over $300 million worth of tax cuts last year.
Yeah, what a statesman, Brian. What a statesman. I mean, and this is what I'm talking about. The people who live in his district, this is what you were saying, they don't know this stuff. They look at the headlines and they see, oh, he stood up for the state once again for the budget and said we need to take care of our people and blah 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 blah. But they don't highlight that he's a Republican voting against over $300 million in tax cuts, while your groceries are rising, your energy prices are rising, the interest rates on homes are rising, home prices are rising, schools are being flooded with illegal immigrants sucking up resources. Same thing with the hospitals, same thing with Medicaid, same thing with the welfare system. I mean, come on, folks.
I mean, when you talk about all these frustrating things, you know, he stands up and boasts about voting against tax cuts. Whereas I think if you put 100 Republicans in a room and of all varieties of ideology, there's probably very few they would agree on. One of them is tax cuts. So he's already outside the mainstream of the Republican Party. He's outside the mainstream of the Idaho Republican Party. He's outside the mainstream of, all Republican discourse for the past 50 years. And so there's that. And then he's voted with the Democrats against so many things. You know, he voted against the mask mandate bill. He said, no, we need to let cities impose mask mandates on their citizens if they feel it's necessary. That was last year. And, of course, he's used his position as chairman of Senate State Affairs to block so much good legislation. A bill passes the House with 40, 45, 50 votes. Well, one man, Senator Jim Guthrie, can say, no, it's not even going to get a hearing. It's not going to proceed. And he just puts it in his drawer. You know, he's probably got a little shredder at the bottom of his drawer, just goes right into the trash. And his voters need to know this because, like I wrote about it, the Gem State Chronicle last week, we've got this paradox of Republican government, not little r Republican government, where we elect representatives to represent us in our districts. I only vote for the representatives in District 14. The citizens in District 28 only vote for their representatives in District 28. And yet, in order to get anything done, we need this coalition of people who are like-minded on some of these issues. And when you have one man who, and it's not like he's just a regular senator either. He's a very powerful chairman for whatever reason. I'm still a little bit baffled as to why he's still in that position. But, is he representing the people of Idaho and the people of his district in doing what he does? Or is he doing what he wants to do for perhaps some special interests, and his voters just aren't aware of the big picture?
Yeah, I just don't think they're aware. But there is somebody that can do something about it, and that's the pro tem, Senator Kelly Anthon. I mean, he can get these bills out of there. He can somehow find a way to get them out of there, use some sort of procedure. He can also remove Guthrie from this position. I'm telling you, he's not going to be there next year. So you might as well remove him now and get somebody fresh in there. Try out a few people, try out Treg Burnt, try out Ben Taves, try some of these other folks out. See how it goes. Folks, call the pro tem right now, 208-332-1300. Ask him to remove Guthrie. Ask him, what is he going to do to get these bills heard? I mean, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who is in these positions. I don't care the name. It's not personal. You don't do what you need to do in that seat. We're going to take the seat. I don't care whose name is on it. You see what's going on right now with Senator Foreman as well, where Senator Foreman is holding on to this teachers union bill in his committee. He's had a call from the White House. And the White House has said, this is a good bill. You should get this moving forward. And he says no. And Senator Foreman is a good man. He's a good man, a colonel, retired colonel from the Air Force, 12 years on the Moscow PD. He's a pro-life, pure abolitionist, good conservative. But he's holding on to this bill. So it's not personal. It's not like I hate Guthrie. It has nothing to do with that. It's about doing your job. And Senator Foreman right now is bucking his entire conservative coalition. He's bucking every pledge signer. He's bucking the White House. And all he has to say for it is, I'm negotiating with the teachers union. And that's that. He hasn't talked to the sponsors of the bill to let them in on what's going on. He's just unilaterally doing it. And that is not right. That is not right, Brian.
Yeah, it's interesting to see this playing out here in Idaho, where you have senators playing games with the system to use the tradition and structure of the Senate in order to stymie the actual will of the people, the will of the Senate, really. I think the teachers union bill would pass if it hits the floor. I don't know if the E-Verify bills would pass if they hit the floor, but they haven't even had the opportunity because one man is blocking them. And it reminds me of what's going on right now as we speak at the national level. In the U.S. Senate, you have the SAVE Act that would require photo ID and other forms of election integrity throughout the entire country. It already passed the House. It's sitting waiting for the Senate. And yesterday, 51 senators out of the 53 Republicans voted to bring it forward for debate. So at least 51 have said publicly that they support this bill, which is a majority, but the Senate has these rules and structures that make it so a minority can block the passage of a bill. But it's, we've heard all sorts of things about how the Senate leadership is not even willing to put the Democrats on the spot. They're not even willing to force them to go through with a real actual filibuster to block it. They'll just hide behind these rules and regulations and structures and traditions to avoid actually doing the thing that the American people sent them there to do. And we see that here in Idaho as well. It's incredibly frustrating. And, it's why we've, supported people who come in there and say, we're going to change this system. Because if, as like the movie said, if the rule that's brought you to this point, if the rule you've followed has brought you to this point, then of what use was the rule? What's the point of all this if it actually prevents us from doing what needs to be done?
That's exactly right. It also reminds me of our own Declaration of Independence. Like when it's not working, you got to overturn the system and start over again. I mean, it's ridiculous to keep going down this road. And so the only answer is to simply bring in new folks, bring in healthy new folks, fresh new folks that can walk alongside some of the folks that have been there for a while and some that just got there in the last 4 years. I mean, the freshmen who came in 22, they've only been there 2 terms, but they're like seasoned statesmen at this point because it's a God thing, man. They were born for this stuff. So, all right, Brian, let us know where people can follow you and what you're working on, and then we'll let you get out of here as we welcome Hawkins in here in a moment.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to keep up on the Fast and Furious session right now as they're getting ready to try and get out of here as quickly as possible. So, catch up with me at Brian Ullman on X, gemstatechronicle.com, and I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. Okay, folks, we'll let Representative Hawkins get settled in here in a moment. We'll bring him on. He was the sponsor of the House Bill 660 that just passed the floor this morning, which would tell folks in law enforcement who arrest somebody, they've been arrested, they've committed a crime, they're going to get booked, to just make sure, can you check to see if they're an illegal alien or not? And there was, again, huge uproar on, God forbid we should do that and ask the law enforcement folks to do that. But nonetheless, the bill passed and it's going to make its way over to the Senate, and hopefully we will. I just don't imagine any one of these bills getting through. So we know it's not going to happen at this point. It was very entitled. Well, we'll have Michael Angeletta on from Secure Idaho too, just talk about what the next steps are. And I'm telling you what the next steps are for us, at least, is the elections. You gotta help. You gotta help out. You gotta help out. You gotta go door knocking. You gotta get in touch with us. Send us an email, signal@citizensallianceidaho.org. We'll get you in touch with our door knocking captain. Get you some flyers and get yourself out there on the ground. If you want to donate to that effort, CAIPAC2026.com. Throw that up down there, and we'll have that. We'll have that as well. CAIPAC2026.com if you want to help there. All right, let's see. Looks like Representative Hawkins is on the move. I don't know if does he want to come on this way? Hey, Representative Hawkins.
Yeah. How you doing?
You are out and about. You're headed. You're on the move. Yes. Well, tell us what's going on. 660 passed today. I'm sorry to say, don't have much hope for it in the next chamber, but how are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good that we got it off the floor. As always, some of the arguments used are ridiculous. To imply that someone doesn't support law enforcement if they vote for something was one of the most ridiculous things I've heard all year. But you're right. I mean, it's off the floor in the House. And then is it just going to be stuck like our other 6 bills are in the Senate? Well, except 287G did die in the Senate. So.
Right. I'm a little frustrated as you are, and most of the folks out there on just watching what is happening in the Senate with these bills. I mean, were you fairly optimistic when you started this venture with that press conference a few weeks ago? Did you have word from the Senate that you'd have some kind ears over there and some likely allies, or is this kind of just you wanted to put the cards out there and see where everybody laid?
No, actually, Matt, when we started this, we actually started in the summer into fall, getting language right and trying to make everything good. And we had some contact in the Senate and within leadership, and we're pretty well assured that yes, this needs to be done this year, and we're all moving forward together. And then here we are.
All right. Well, it is an election season as well, so we'll be out there making sure voters know what's happening. I want to ask you about, unless you have some more on this immigration, I want to flip over to education and talk to you about your education committee and some of the things that you're also running up against in terms of having a having your cleanup bill that was just trying to remove some innocuous language that was left over, and you couldn't even get it out of that committee.
No, that was pretty shocking to sit in the Senate committee and to have them tell me the line I left there by accident belonged there. That was a little difficult to deal with. But you know, on the Senate side as well as on our House side, we have the teachers unions and the ISBA have a great influence over a lot of folks, and they shouldn't. They have nothing but Marxist ideology, and they don't care about our kids. They care about their system.
Yeah, well, we're seeing that play out now with House Bill 745, the teachers union bill that is also stuck in Senator Foreman's drawer, which is very disappointing. I don't know if you heard, but we've publicly announced that we're putting Senator Foreman into questionable standing for his hostile actions against his fellow pledge signers on that very issue. And it's very important that we uphold the integrity of the pledge. I commend you for signing it, for always being a good steward of it as well. What do you think is the next step here in trying to convince these chairmen that they can't simply hold bills without at least conferring with the bill's sponsor?
Yeah, this whole thing with that bill is a little shocking. None of us can figure out like what is really going on here. What are the motivations behind this? I know with this bill and as well as the immigration, there's even been some inquiry from the current administration in DC, like, hey, what's happening here? We thought Idaho was red. What's going on? So I have no answer on that one. I do know that on the bill to fix mine, we gave them some language that I probably didn't want to give them, and that bill will go all the way through now. It just says that if they're using the context of history or reciting something of that subject, which is gender identity or sexual orientation, comes up, it would not be a violation because it wouldn't be considered instruction. But with the stuff in Chairman Foreman's office, I don't have an answer for that. It doesn't make any sense to me. I've known the chairman for about 12 years, and this is just totally out of character.
Yeah, we agree, and that's what we've heard time and again from folks, which is why we took the action we did. We greatly respect those who do sign the pledge, and so we want to give them every opportunity to explain themselves and to come to some sort of agreement somewhere. But this is just baffling to us as well. Representative Hawkins, looks like you're trying to make up a lunch meeting or something, so we don't want to hold you too much longer. But anything else that you want to tell the good folks?
Well, I mean, there are those of us here who are working for the folks, and that's what I tried to make evident today on the floor with 660. We realize that there's a portion of law enforcement that's against these bills, but we don't work for them. We work for the folks, and we'll continue to work for the folks, and we'll continue to represent them properly and constitutionally, and hopefully we can get some ground here.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Representative. It's good to see you on the move, and we'll check back in with you soon.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Take care. All right. I think the last time we had Representative Hawkins, he was driving in his car. And so this man's always on the move. I love to see it. You'll love to see it. Okay, folks. We had did we have a voicemail we wanted to play? I want to play this voicemail that we got. We got to turn on the voicemail machine here. It timed out on me. But if you want to call, you can call 208-402-4915. Leave us a voicemail, just like Sarah did just recently. So let's listen into Sarah here.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and I was actually just asking about the reinforcement of parental rights and the oversight in Idaho courts. The task force released findings, and there's a lot of concerns, especially about children's safety, kids ending up in with dangerous custody. I'm happy to send you that information, but it's a pretty big topic right now in Idaho. Would love to find out more about that. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for calling in. It is a very important issue. There was the task force over the summer that was looking into a lot of those things. And so I know that there's some bills traveling through that you should definitely take note of and contact your representatives. Folks, you can leave your message as well. 208-402-4915 is the number to dial in and leave your message, just like Sarah. We've got some more backed up as well. We'll be sure to play those this week as well. Okay, so folks, some calls to action here. We got a couple. We really need you to activate. It's really, really wild. You have the Trump administration. You've got the Trump administration sending out a word to Senator Foreman, and he's not budging on this teachers union bill. It's quite remarkable to see. And we hope that there is I'm trying to get a graph. I want to show you guys this graphic here because it's important. It's important for us to make sure that we have this up for a hearing. House Bill 745, the teachers union bill. It passed the House. It's been in the works for years trying to get this thing through. And so we want to stand with President Trump. And we want to encourage Senator Foreman to allow a hearing for House Bill 745. So please do all you can to contact Senator Foreman. We have his, we'll put his number and info in the show notes as well. And then also Senator Kelly Anthon, the pro tem, the leader of the Senate, all these immigration bills that are getting stacked up in the Senate side, they need to get a hearing. So scan that QR code, call him up at that number, tell him to remove Guthrie, get these bills heard, do something. Do something. They can do something. We know that they can do something because we've seen miracles happen before on other bills. You got to, if there's we're in charge. And when I say we, I mean people. We make the rules. We're human beings, right? We make the rules. We're in charge. They could have pulled the bill out of committee on the Senate floor Friday, but they voted not to. But imagine if they voted to bring it out. It would have been on the floor for a hearing. You see what I mean? Like there's rules there. And then there's certain people that say, no, we don't want to do that. No, we want to do it this way. We want to do it that way. We just want to we want to give deference to Senator Foreman in his decisions. I don't know, folks. It's time for us to rise up. I thank you so much for watching. I know you know what time it is. Some people don't. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
Wake up, you dream from your slumber so deep. And I don't know what time it is. And the night runs deep. The libertarians holler about leaving it be. County government ghosts in charge we see. Be your kind hearts with their woes and seas. Progressive, oh God, on their bended knees. But the culture's a graveyard, the church has gone cold. Pagan winds howled and stories untold. You abolish your principles, shining in need, while the republic crumbles under our feet. You taught us a warning from the online wire. Heritage stolen, took us holy fire.
This bill, I think, it puts a stake in the ground that says we have a sovereign right to protect what's ours.